Welcome to Shannonville Motorsport Park for race 2 in the GP Bikes Pro Superbike division. Defending champion Ben Young finished third in the first race. Can he make his way back to number 1?
To kick off the 2025 Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship season at Shannonville Motorsport Park, Alex Dumas took home the victory on his BMW M1000RR. A victory for the same manufacturer, 4-time Canada Cup champion Ben Young used to call his own. But this year, Young has taken on a new challenge with an upstart Honda program as the BMW continues to roll. Will the trend continue? Full throttle, knee down. It's time to go Superbike racing, Shannonville style. Marshall Ferguson alongside Colin Fraser as we are getting set for race number 2 in the GP Bikes Pro Superbike feature class here at Shannonville Motorsport Park. In race number 1, Alex Dumas on the BMW goes on to victory. And of course, Ben Young hopping onto the Honda, extremely competitive, but hard to call it a return to form for Jordan Zoke.
Yeah, I think Jordan on the Kawasaki, he's put a lot of effort in. Intriguingly, the guy who looks after Dumas's bike, Scott Miller with Fast Company, built the engine in Jordan's new Kawasaki, and arguably that might have been the strongest performer on the back straight, but it was great because we had 3 brands battling for the lead. Should have had 2 BMWs, but Sam Guérin ran into some trouble.
Guérin in trouble in race number 1. We'll see if he can get back onto the podium here in race number 2, but he's going to have to fight through Dumas, Young, and Zoke to get it done.
If the front row looks familiar, that was our podium, and there's Guérin, who is overdue for some luck. Let's hope it comes in race 2. Trevor Daly showing very well on that Supersport spec Suzuki.
Last year's Rookie of the Year, Connor Campbell on the grid here. Zoltan Frast looking good on the ex-Ben Young BMW. Alex Michel on the Speed Factory 67 Kawasaki. Tyron Tavares as well went down in race number 1. As we get a look at the back end of the grid before the track map here at Shannonville Motorsport Park.
Perimeter track at Shannonville is a challenging one. We're missing the inside turns that we used at the end of the season last year. Lap record Brett McCormick a long time ago on Q tires, but we have been surprisingly close to the lap record given that the conditions have been poor.
Plenty of passing opportunities. We'll see where they take advantage. For now, let's head down to our Bridgestone pit reporter, Sarah Said.
Thanks, Marshall. Sam Guérin will look to redeem himself today after facing a technical issue in lap 6 of the first race in the GP Bikes Pro Superbike division that forced him off the track and left him with 0 points. Guérin says the throttle body connector on his bike was unplugged, leaving him no choice but to exit the course on lap 7, just as he was in second and catching up to race winner Alex Dumas. He says it was heartbreaking, especially as this has never happened during the near 300 laps they did over the last weekend and in practices. Though he feels it is a big hit for him in the championship, Guérin is remaining positive. He's working with a mental coach this season who is helping him in one-on-one sessions with performance on the track. He says the coach is from the UK and has experience training MotoGP, Moto2, and Moto3 riders and has helped him a lot so far. Guérin also says the problem with the bike seems to be fixed and that all went well in practice today and he feels like he has nothing to lose. Back to you.
Well, we'll see how much Guérin forces the issue here in race number 2 as we get a look at the Power Sports TO starting lights. They are out and we're full throttle at Shannonville in race number 2 as a great start once again from Alex Dumas, and for the second time in as many races to the outside goes Sam Guérin.
Zoke in second on the Kawasaki, then Guérin on the BMW looking for revenge, and Zoke a little bit sideways on those cold Bridgestones on the first lap.
So Guérin slots in behind Zoke. Good battle in behind there as well with Young and David McKay as well. As McKay actually up into 4th position right now. Now Young down to the inside takes the spot back.
And Philippe de Gama Blanchet on that Honda is in 6th, so very busy Honda 4th, 5th, 6th.
As they get onto the throttle here, down the back straight. David McKay hoping to try and stick with the pack, but Guérin immediately to the outside, and it's back the same way that it was in similar conditions to race number 1, where the BMWs are 1-2 before we reach the end of the first lap.
So no direct sun on the track today, cooler conditions. It's been drizzling this morning, and I'm leading to the fact that Dumas crashed right off the bat in our warm-up, basically missed the whole thing. Had made some changes to the bike. We're trying to deal with some shifting issues. So Dumas is a little bit in uncharted territory on that brand new BMW. And everybody else was out in the practice session too, indicating a lot of people making changes, looking for more lap time. And the conditions are not as good for laps as has been recently here at Shannonville.
We get that great drone shot high above Shannonville Motorsport Park, which shows you that breakaway pack of 5 riders, Dumas, Guérin, Zoke, Young, and McKay, heading their way through turn number 4 towards the hairpin.
Interesting in turn 3 there, Guérin made up some serious time on Dumas right behind his Zoke. Zoke commented to me yesterday that he thought that perhaps Guérin was a little ambitious in that turn.
Get a look at the start here from Sam Guérin's on board as Trevor Daly trying to fight his way through. Man, that is tight between Young and Guérin.
Yeah, Guérin doing what he needs to do. He had a really good start yesterday. Today, maybe not quite as good. Look at that shot of McKay on that Honda from Snow City. And, we're hoping that he can be part of this lead group. He was early on yesterday, 5th right now. And let's see if he's at the back of the leaders. Yep, he's still in tow.
He's hanging off the inside of that Honda to try and get as much pace as possible through turn number 1. It worked, but Young laid on the brakes later on, and so he gets that spot back, holding on to 4th position right now as they complete lap number 2.
And amazingly, just a little further back, Daly on that Super Sport Spec Suzuki and DeGama Blanchette on his Honda Superbike are already fighting just the way they did all through the race yesterday afternoon.
They can't get away from each other so far here this week in the GP Bikes Pro Superbike feature classes. Same can be said for Dumas and Guérin, as Guérin with a healthy working motorcycle appears to have great pace.
Yeah, and Dumas perhaps riding a little conservatively in terms of his lines right now, but with the performance that BMW has, he can afford to be careful and maybe make the other guys work for the long way around.
Well, 5 riders firing away, looking for a podium spot. None more motivated perhaps than Samuel Guérin in race 2. Portions of the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship are brought to you in part by BS Battery, Gulf Race Fuels, and EBC Brakes and Clutches. Closed captioning for the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship is brought to you in part by AIM Insurance, Keen Truck Incorporated, and Revs for Rhett. Welcome back to Shannonville Motorsport Park. We're in lap number 5 here as we are in race number 2. David McKay doing a significantly better job of not letting this front 4-pack run away the way that they did in race number 1, Colin.
And McKay's at that point in his career where he needs to look at podiums.
Alex Dumas trying to stretch his lead out in front of Sam Guérin on this BMW program. Here he is on his most recent 2 crew chiefs, Patrice Goyette and Scott Miller.
Scott is a little bit different from Patrice, but they're both really good mechanics. And so far, I have nothing to say about Scott. Everything's perfect, and I'm really happy how everything is going. And this year, Scott runs the team, so he's really good, and everything's simple and perfect. And he's been working hard all off season long with getting this program possible. So without him, nothing of this we wouldn't be here today.
Scott Miller was in Germany earlier this year working on the BMWs. He's previously run programs for Yamaha with Steve Crevier and Suzuki for a number of top riders, specifically Francis Martin. So a guy with a ton of experience preparing motorcycles.
A lot of great people in the CSBK paddock. Not sure there's any better than Scott Miller, though, to run past and catch up with. He's got his rider, Alex Dumas, out in front right now. Guérin holding on to second. Jordan Zoke in third. And there is Ben Young all over the back of the 101 as they head down the back straight once again.
And we've got to mention that Miller was also involved in constructing the engines for Zoke's Kawasaki, Suzuki's for a number of people, including Jordan Zoke and specifically Francis Martin, and was involved in Zoke's BMW program. So Scott Miller with a ton of experience going back the last 30 years in the series, and certainly one of the top tuners.
Great job of putting together those programs as Ben Young closes up on the back of that CKM Kawasaki as they complete lap number 6 here at Shannonville Motorsport Park. And you see again these pair of battles that are going on for first and third.
And you got to admire the braveness of our director, because if you've got Dumas and Guérin battling for the lead and you've decided to watch Zoke and Young, you are taking some chances.
Absolutely, as Guérin looks around the outside here, as does Young. Bit of a peak, not close enough to give a real challenge to Zoke. They'll head towards the hairpin before firing it up down that back straight once again. But man, everybody taking a look and trying to find the right spot.
Yeah, and what we're seeing here is defensive riding from the guy in the lead, and look for anything that might work from the guy behind.
And the development of that Jordan Zoke program, that ZX10R, as you can see how hard he's riding it on the brakes at the end of the back straight, just looking for as much as he can possibly squeeze out of that bike.
Yeah, and it's also good to scare Young a little bit, where he can wonder, is it possible to make a move when the tail's wagging around? But again, Young's bike basically in its second ever ride, and there he makes it.
Yep, diving down in Allen's, now defensive from Ben, is Jordan Zoke has to straighten it up a little bit, so third place goes to the 4-time Canada Cup champion Ben Young on that Van Volder's home team Honda.
Okay, we used to comment last year that if Young was within a second and a half, he could make something happen. So he's about a second and a half back in third spot with more than half a race to go. So this situationally is what we want to see. Remember, yesterday they finished in roughly this order, but Zoke was in front of Young and Guérin had dropped out.
Always amazing to see the caliber of talent here in this top 4, but really when Young has to put his head down and try and catch up to a gap in front or gap somebody that he's just passed, he really has the ability to squeeze an extra couple of tenths out.
Yeah, and Dumas is riding conservatively. He's protecting his line, and that's making it tough for Guérin.
The 2 trying to chase down the 23 of Alex Dumas. It's a pair of BMWs up in front. Ben Young used to be on the BMW, now on this Van Volder's home team Honda, and takes away third position from the legend Jordan Zoke. Stands them up on that CKM Kawasaki, but the Honda in a podium position here in Shannonville. Welcome back to Shannonville Motorsport Park as we have passed the midway marker of race number 2 here in Shannonville. As you see out in front, Alex Dumas and Sam Guérin trying to get past Tyrone Tavares, who decides to go to the outside of the final corner. They begin lap number 13. By the way, at the passing mark for Ben Young ahead of Jordan Zoke, he did lay down a fast lap of 104.9. So into the 104s, trying to create some room, trying to catch up to Guérin. Unable to do so yet, but putting himself in the conversation.
In our last lap, Young wasn't as held up in traffic, and he was the fastest at a 105.3. So not quite as fast as we've seen during the last few days, but still a solid effort. But more importantly, the fastest lap of any of the top 4.
Dumas looks smooth as ever on that economy Lubin tire BMW. And Guérin almost feels content based on how disappointing race 1 was for him to sit here in second for now, continue to force the issue a little bit, but doesn't really seem all that interested in trying to get into first position yet.
I don't think he's feeling the pressure, but if you think he's content, I wonder, have you ever actually seen him and thought that he was content? Because that is not how I would generally categorize his behavior, and he certainly doesn't ride a motorcycle as if he's content.
Sitting on the back tire of Dumas consistently here since another great start, 2 in a row for Sam Guérin. When he drops the clutch and fires away off the grid, starting in 4th in both race 1 and race 2. As you see down through turn number 1, Guérin a little bit wider line than Dumas.
And Guérin was the fastest on the last lap, but there's so little between them, so consistent at the front. There you can see Guérin's bike wanting to tuck the front as we're coming into some traffic, and that can be complicated.
Dumas and Guérin will try to weave their way through here, and around the back tire goes on Guérin. Yesterday it was a mechanical. Today it looks like he just lost grip on that rear coming around in that fast corner and now sitting on the X to the racing line.
Now let's watch it from on board with our leader Dumas, and there you can see Guérin. If anything, on this portion of the track where the pavement's quite inconsistent, he may have just asked a little too much of the tire. I also wonder if he wasn't thinking about getting by the lapper, because he might have had an opportunity there in traffic to make something happen. Here you can see it just looks like he rolls it off the tire. It can happen to anybody, and it's the best way to crash your motorcycle because you only fall a very short distance.
Sits that bike down, and BMW sparks splayed across the tarmac at Shannonville Motorsport Park. Disappointment for Samuel Guérin after a very difficult opening round.
And you can see the CRCA Marshal heading off across the Canada Shield there to provide some assistance. And again, here we are, poor Guérin has to recycle his electronics. Oh no,
And
something
who is
going
this?
on.
Is
That's
this Connor
Campbell. And
Yeah.
look at the back of the bike. I think he's broken another subframe, and he's been having problems with that this weekend. And it looked like the tail was lower than it should be.
So carnage all of a sudden here on lap 15 of 20. And you can see Guérin, just like that right-hand side, lower down around the rear brake, might be damaged.
Yeah, it might be a foot peg that's shortened or broken, and now we're back with our leader, Young, just a second away. And of course, as I like to mention, we're within that magic 1.5 seconds where Ben Young can usually make something happen. We don't know if he can do it with a Honda, but we know psychologically he's good at about 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, about 2/10 quicker than Alex Dumas was Ben Young on lap number 15, and pretty much nothing separating them. Dumas gaining it back by a 10th or so here in lap number 16 thus far.
It's interesting, fourth place McKay is lapping in a very similar range. So although he's faded back a bit, his lap times are still quite strong.
As we saw the door open with Samuel Guérin going down, Ben Young looking to pounce, and these two have not been able to get away from each other over the last couple of years. Canada Cup champions, the both of them, with Young having 4 and Dumas the 1, but they have been highly competitive, great rivals here in the series over the last couple of seasons.
They have definitely set the standard at the front, and I think we were looking forward to seeing Guérin joining them, winning consistently in that company. He had a couple of good wins last year, so it's a shame that things have gone so upside down, literally, for Guérin. Mechanical problems yesterday, and now this slide out today.
One-speed Suzuki of Trevor Daly riding hard as ever on Phil de Gamma Blanchette on that Mott's Machining Honda, as these two also haven't been able to get away from each other, matching pace. And the Honda CBR 1000 Fireblade for de Gamma Blanchette, and the Supersport spec of the GSXR 750 for Trevor Daly.
Well, Daly is frequently like a dog on a bone, so that makes de Gamma Blanchette a bone in this instance. Got to mention that Daly's aboard that Suzuki that was the top Canadian finisher at the Daytona 200 back in March.
Alex Dumas continues to lead at Shannonville. Portions of the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship are brought to you in part by BS Battery, Gulf Race Fuels, and EBC Brakes and Clutches. Ben Young trying to track down Alex Dumas here on lap number 17 of 20. Race number 2 of the GP Bikes Pro Superbike feature class is coming up onto Laurent La Liberté Girard, and I believe that's Samuel Guérin making his way around after having his crash. Yes, Guérin able to stay on track, unlike race number 1. And Guérin in 8th position currently.
So Guérin's lost almost a lap, and now the leaders are going to pass him and put him a lap down. And of course, that is a really discouraging turn of events for someone who realistically was looking to win this one.
How big must the eyes be of Ben Young right now on that Van Dolder's home team Honda, as he is trying to track down what really used to be his ride. Not the exact same bike, but that BMW M1000RR he was so familiar with, had so much success with, but man, does he ever want to prove to Honda and everybody in the Bridgestone CSBK that he can win and be on the top step of the box when it comes to this Honda program.
And Young wants to take advantage of this hopefully lapping situation with Guérin and close up on the leader. This might be the break he's looking for.
Think about the length of this lap and happenstance that the lapper turns into someone they were battling for a podium position against just a few short minutes ago. But Guérin straightens up and on goes the battle for first position as Dumas and Young head through Allen's corner down into turn number 9. And difference in riding style might be able to see from the rear-facing onboard here.
Closest we've seen these two, and Young definitely is almost within reach of Dumas. This is his opportunity. Last lap, he has to go now.
Got 19 of 20 right now. The Economy Loop BMW is Young. Tighter line coming through the corner. Straightens up here, and Dumas, defensive line going into the corner as again Ben Young takes out a little bit of time, and Dumas so used to having these battles with Young, even though it's on different machinery this time around. He understands what Young is about and vice versa.
And Young right now is just thinking about lining it up, getting the power down, hopefully not spinning that big Bridgestone slick, getting the draft, and really it didn't go that way. Dumas got the drive on him, and that's basically what we've seen pretty much regularly this race.
think maybe if a better drive out of that corner, Young might have tested that brake and tried to dive in. But we get some data here from Fast Company on all things Dumas.
Yeah, so obviously we're not in the 320, 330 range in terms of top speed because we don't have a fast turn dumping onto the back straight. 15,000 RPM is kind of normal for these 1000cc bikes. Interesting, he's using 5 gears. We normally see 3 or 4.
Gearing a little bit different as Dumas finds his comfort level and continues to lead as we hit the final lap. The white flag is out here in Shannonville.
One to go.
And again, Young getting after it, trying to find any way through to get first in this second race of the season.
And there you see him closing up in the scene of the crime where Guérin ran into some trouble. But again, all he's thinking about now is trying to get onto that back straight with maximum drive. Right now is when he needs everything to go his way.
Different lines entering. You can hear almost matching revs coming out of that corner. Young tucks in tight, as does Dumas. It's a drag race down the back straight. And can Young gain any ground? No.
And Dumas just a little bit conservative in the turns, and that's suiting him fine. He's led the whole way riding that way.
Very good lap times throughout for Ben Young, tracking down from 4th to 3rd, now into 2nd. And it looks like Dumas will slam the door shut on the final corner of race number 2. Make it back-to-back victories right to the line. Alex Dumas takes the second race in Shannonville.
Young poured on the pressure. Dumas used all the racetrack. That was a big finish, and you got to admit that Young really tried on the last lap.
He thought about trying to pinch it right up against the pit wall there on the exit of turn number 9, but the second win of the 2025 season, of course, and 16th career victory as well for Alex Dumas. Ben Young celebrates a great start to his Honda campaign, and now tied for 4th on the all-time Bridgestone CSBK Superbike wins list is Dumas.
Yeah, Steve Crevier, the only guy on that list who isn't in this race. Hasn't raced Superbikes since he rode for Buell about 15 years ago.
Again, you see BMW, Honda, and Kawasaki. Another strong effort from Jordan Zoke, while David McKay and Phil de Gama Blanchette round out the top 5.
Daly getting the second best out of that battle with Phil de Gama Blanchette. And we got to mention Frast again doing well on that BMW.
Let's head down and hear from our winner. Once again, it is Alex Dumas.
All right, Alex, congratulations. 2 wins this weekend. How does it feel after the race?
Feels awesome. Coming in to today's race, we made a big change. We didn't know if it was going to help or not. We used different tires too. So yeah, I'm really happy with the result, and it's looking good for us for the championship. So Sam's kind of out of the championship. He has a 2 almost DNF. So yeah, it's going to be good.
Congratulations.
2 big victories for Alex Dumas, and obviously at the other end of the scale, disappointment is now 42 points down to Sam Guérin.
Interview with Dumas from Ceres, he indicated that he gambled on a different dual compound rear tire at the last moment, and that may have been key to his victory.
Young and Zoke trading podium positions as well as they sit tied in 2nd spot. As we get a look at the Constructors' Championship, BMW out in front and Honda right there on their heels.
Impressive debut for Honda with 3 bikes. Got to mention Frast. He probably didn't expect to be scoring constructors points, but he stepped into the breach when Guérin didn't get much out of those first 2 races here at Shannonville.
A talented top end of the GP Bikes Pro Superbike feature class here in Shannonville, but the top step once again goes to Alex Dumas on the Economy Lubin Tire BMW.